Arma 3 Mission Making Fundamentals, Episode 1, by Gabo, co-written by Aaron. The primary purpose behind this video is to educate new mission makers and Zeuses on the fundamental philosophy behind making good missions. Now, if you're already experienced in these topics, stick around anyway, you might learn something new. I've noticed a disturbing trend amongst those who have asked me for mission making and Zeus advice in the past, in which most of everything that I say ends up going ignored, especially the fundamentals, resulting in subpar missions being made. To prevent this in the future, I ask you, please, drop the ego, shut up. When a Black Queen speaks, you listen and learn. At its absolute core, the most basic foundation of players having fun in a video game is decision-making. When players decide the equipment they take, the vehicles of choice, if any, and the route of ingress and plan of action, those are their decisions to make, not yours. If you make them for them, they won't have fun. It is for this reason that I tend to push new Zeuses away from making defense-styled missions, because in a defense mission, the only decision you get is where you're standing and what gun you have. It is important also to note the difference between micro and macro decisions. Micro decisions are things like, do I blow this guy up with a grenade or just shoot him? Macro decisions are the overall planning and assets taken. Players get to make a whole lot more decisions when planning and engaging in an assault on an objective than they do if they are standing around waiting for the objective to come to them. Part 2. Assault versus defense. To make an assault objective is to put guys in a place and let the players decide how to engage them. To make a defense objective, you have to make the AI come to the players. The main issue with this is that Arma AI is completely retarded. It does not matter what AI mod you have, be it LAMS, VCOM, Madden, or base game, AI cannot move reliably over long distances. Just yesterday, as of recording, even over short distances, I told a pickup truck with a Dushka on the back of it to engage players 20 meters from it. It instead decided to descend the mountain and wrap itself around a tree 800 meters away. As a Zeus, you will have your hands constantly full with trying to keep the AI on track, doing what they should be, instead of making 38-point turns to continue driving in a straight line. Never underestimate the complete and total retardation of Arma AI when forced to move. This is the primary reason that I urge all new Zeuses to only make assault missions to begin with. When the AI is already where they are supposed to be for the players to engage them, there is much less risk of them doing completely retarded shit, like trying to phase into a rock or climb a tree using a transport truck. Occasionally, you'll still have the errant fool walking off the side of a building or jumping out a window, but that is much better than creating a convoy ambush objective in which only one vehicle of the convoy makes it to the ambush point, while the rest of them are stuck in a 13-car pileup because one of them decided to turn off the road for no reason. Part 3. Just do assault missions. Step 1. Find a good position for the AI to occupy. Make it something that makes sense. There's no reason for CSAT to be infesting a hospital or office building like ants to a rotten apple unless it has good sightlines over the surrounding area. Enemies should be in places that make sense. Any location that provides a significant logistical strategic advantage over the region should be occupied by one side or another. Step 2. Fortify. If you search trench in the props menu or barricade, you'll find plenty of good objects to use. In addition, there's also bag fence. Keep in mind the enemy assets and how long they've been there. If it's been a while and they've had plenty of time to dig in, it would make more sense for them to have a lot of sandbags and concrete barriers around, whereas if they had just gotten there or they don't have good funding, junk barricades and turned over cars would make more sense. Now behind those junk barricades and turned over cars sits my favorite asset of all, turrets. Area denial systems are the king of making an engaging assault mission. You can maximize the effectiveness of the enemy's defense while also minimizing the strain on the server because it's only one guy on one gun doing all the damage. Turrets should have decent sightlines over the area and decent cover from player fire. If you think that's too cruel, just remember, the harder it is to take an objective, the more satisfying it is to do so. Step 3. Patrol coverage. Not every area of potential entry by players can be observed by a turret. Areas with lots of cover and things to hide behind, like trees or buildings or rubble, should be patrolled by foot soldiers, as they cannot be easily observed by a turret or armored vehicle. The patrols would be much easier to sneak or fight through than to charge a turret head-on, but if they are engaged, they can call for reinforcements. There should not be any major noticeable gaps or unguarded back doors in your series of patrols, guard posts, and turrets. Every enemy outpost, camp, and base should be defended as if you were the one defending it, as if it were your own home. Now, be reasonable. We all understand that some of you are crazy and would fill a refrigerator with concrete and suspend it over your front door with a tripwire trap. That's not what I mean. Leaving a deliberate opening in the defenses is making the decision for the players. Trust them to make their own decision. After all the defensive points are taken care of, you can just spawn a bunch of guys, tell them to hide in buildings, and then spawn the occasional vehicle as backup for when the players eventually show up. Keep in mind that it does not matter in which order you do these steps of preparation, just that all of them are done. Part 4. Defense. As you'll see in the picture on screen, this is an area on the map Sumava in which Bad Company set up shop for a defense objective at the end of a mission. We held out in this narrow location for about 20 to 30 minutes, and at no point did anyone feel even slightly bored. There were only 90 degrees from which the enemy could approach, and they could only be seen at about 250 meters at the maximum, sometimes about 100 meters. Because of this, the Zeus was able to spawn enemies closer to the players, resulting in them not going full retard when trying to approach the players. The less distance they have to travel, the better they will behave. The 90-degree angle of approach also helps a ton, because you're not having any players looking backwards waiting for an enemy that's not coming, while everyone else gets to have all the fun. Everyone gets to look the same way and fight the same enemies. This also drastically reduces the workload on the Zeus, because they don't need to struggle to keep all angles entertained when everyone's looking the same direction. In this situation, we had about 8 ground infantry, a marksman on top of the roof, and a T-72 tank. And again, at no point did anyone feel bored. The unanimous, spoken declaration from everyone involved is that this is the best defense mission they had ever played at this point. Keep in mind again that this was not a mission in and of itself, it was an objective at the end of a mission that didn't last longer than 30 minutes. Unfortunately, we praised the mission maker a bit too much for this defense objective, and he didn't fully understand why it went so well. Resultantly, he made this absolute travesty of a defense objective. While this may be a more realistic defense, it is not fun. The closest an enemy could possibly get before being spotted by us was 600 meters, and our sightlines were in fact so good that often enough we would see the enemies being spawned in the fields ahead of us. In order for us not to see them being spawned, they would have to be placed over 1 kilometer away. In addition to that, we were given a D30 anti-tank cannon. And don't let the term anti-tank confuse you. It can absolutely be used to eviscerate infantry. Not one wave of enemies, armored or not, vehicles or no, was able to make it more than 100 meters beyond the tree line. Resultantly, the general infantry were practically required to drop their AKs in favor of marksman rifles to have any chance of engaging the enemy. The angle of engagement was still only about 90 degrees, which is optimal. The problem was the distance at which we were engaging and the duration of the engagement. 70% of the mission was spent here with our thumbs up our asses doing almost nothing while the D-30 ate all our food. The rotten fruit of this mistake of a mission can be seen in the video linked in the description called Rails Wartime Vlogs Part 6. When players aren't having fun, they are forced to make their own fun. This manifests as very liberal use of the Ragdoll on Command mod, general rabble and not caring, team killing, and running off. I have absolutely no shame in admitting that during this clusterfuck, I and somebody else hopped into a transport truck, drove back to spawn, sat down, and had a chat for the duration of the mission. Even if we didn't talk about anything important, it was still a whole lot more fun than sitting in a pit doing nothing. This leads me to the general summary of what makes a good and what makes a bad defense mission. Number 1, line of sight. If you could see the enemy approaching from greater than 400 meters, stop and pick a different location or fix the issue by providing them with sufficient cover to maneuver through. If the players can see the enemy approaching from more than 400 meters away, it's a guarantee that only your marksmen are going to have any fun, because they'll be the only ones who can engage the enemy reliably. Everyone else will just be taking pot shots or sitting around with their thumb up their ass. The moment the players engage the enemy, Arma's retarded AI will kick in and most likely have them all stand out prone at the exact distance at which they were engaged. They will not advance intelligently, they will simply stay as they are until they all die. This is the case regardless of what AI mod you're using. The only thing with any chance of hindering this AI retardation is direct Zeus intervention. Number 2, degrees of engagement. Keep it as close to 90 degrees as you can, but no more than 180. 360-degree defensive posturing is a great way to ensure that somebody is not going to be having fun at all times. A Zeus is only one man and can only supply enemies from one direction at a time reliably. Limiting the angle of engagement ensures that everyone gets to participate. Number 3, keep it short. Even if the players say they're still having plenty of fun, you shouldn't let a defense objective run on any longer than 40 minutes. Never make a defense objective into a defense mission. If the primary time-consuming objective in your mission is a defense objective, you are a goober and a fool. Even if all the other requirements are met, many players will get bored if an objective overstays its welcome. Keep it short. Part 5. Convoy ambush. Much like defense objectives, a convoy ambush heavily relies on the AI not being retarded. As such, it should never be the focal point of a mission. I don't care how many times you've tested it, and neither does the AI driver that's going to do a 37-point turn and wrap himself around a tree in the middle of your convoy, causing a total halt of all movements except for the unarmored, ungunned Jeep at the head. Keep them simple, keep them short, and do not rely on them for your mission. You need to have other objectives for the players to have fun with on standby in case the convoy objective does what convoy objectives usually do. That's all I've got for this video. If you have any questions, feel free to DM me. If you disagree with anything I've said here, shut up, I'm right, you're wrong.